kind of just leave Rek'Sai up, let them first pick it, or is Corki going to go for the first pick? How Korean is TSM going to play this pick ban process?
Well, I think this hurts Team Solomid just a little bit more because of all those mid bans. Crumbs, you touched on the Thresh pick with the Janna still available. Is TSM considering this first pick?
I think they're considering the first pick Janna. They're daring CJ to ban the Janna just because...
But then what do they take else? If Janna is banned, what would be their first pick?
Oh, you must take either the Rek'Sai or the Viktor. As Monte has asked, how Korean are they? Are they Korean enough for the first pick Viktor?
Corki. First pick Corki. Because here's the thing that people may not know is the Thresh ban's a little weird, actually, because MadLife has spent this entire season pretty much just playing Janna and Nami. He hasn't really been there. He's had a couple Annie games as well, but when we think about MadLife, old MadLife is that big playmaking Thresh player. He's almost exclusively playing Pure Peel right now, so not really sure about that one.
And I sure hope
40 seconds, let's theorize. Jungle picks are still up, top lane picks mostly still available, Janna's still available, Nami's still available. The pick of the litter, because this is a weird and wonderful pick and ban phase. Crumbs, what would be the right choice in your mind?
I think that they should probably focus on taking a really strong mid laner. Now, hovering over the Ezreal, I think that might be a good pick, but you'd have to immediately commit to the Ezreal mid lane, and it really shows your hand. I think the Viktor pick is actually a much better choice.
No, I think taking Ezreal first, because the response will be the Corki pick, because if you try and run double AD where you have no magic damage out of your AD carry, you run a huge risk of being very heavily itemized against. So the Maokai is in fact going to be the first champion in this draft.
That surprises me. But on the same token, there are so many priority picks. Somebody's going to get Rek'Sai, somebody's going to get Nidalee, somebody's going to get Janna, somebody's going to get Nami, so I don't know. Mundo's still up for shy if he wants to go that route, depending how the rest of these picks play out.
I mean, he very much so can, because you now have a decent physical damage jungler that is not going to fall off in terms of damage and will be able to solo out many champions depending on the build. So the Rek'Sai, you know, it's such a powerful pick, and we have seen Rek'Sai just completely dominate games, because when she gets ahead and can get those tunnels in your own in the enemy's jungle, then she's just at every step of the way there, and it becomes incredibly easy to snowball on her and very hard to shut her down.
Also, this gives CJ that mid-game power spike on the Corki, where they're not going to have to play as reserved as they did with that Kog'Maw composition earlier in the day, and it puts TSM in a rough situation, because when Corki is picked early, there's always the threat of that Ezreal for the double AD. You can run it with tanks, you can run it with many, many things, and it's all about that mixed damage. So coming in right here, unless TSM wants to try and take it away and put Turtle on it, which usually isn't ideal. He's a better mid laner, I feel, than an AD carry these days, unless you've got a really good flex plan with him. And there's going to be the Annie for the hard engage. So just tons of engage already for TSM.
Now, actually, I think that I wouldn't be surprised by the Janna pick here from CJ, just because they're so comfortable with it. But seeing as how Wildturtle's most played AD carry has been the Sivir, and you're going with a very hard engaged composition from the get-go, you know, you can hit one target with a lot of CC, the Annie, the Maokai, the long-range Nidalee spear, getting that Sivir up there, which will have a favorable laning phase against the Corki, because spell shield the phosphorus bomb, and now all of a sudden you find yourself pushing into the CJ tower in the bottom lane, and you take that advantage in terms of the tower pushing.
So theorizing a potential Sivir for Wildturtle, what does Bjergsen decide to play then in the mid lane? Some options for him to run through. Orianna, if they want to go the team fight comp, and with a couple seconds left on the clock here, CG Entus will most likely lock in this Dr.Mundo and the Leona. So hard engage out of both supports, throwing every prediction we made for disengaged supports out the window.
I gotta show off a little with that Mundo pick, to be honest, because right off the bat you see, oh, is that gonna be a Sivir? But it's gonna be 3 heavy magic champions from TSM, and now the Mundo is gonna get unkillable in the late game. You have a ticking time bomb where you're not gonna kill the Mundo.
Yep.
You just don't have the damage for it. And by forcing the Sivir pick, all of a sudden you no longer have a hyper carry to be able to dish out enough damage to kill the Mundo. So I really would have rather seen the Mundo ban than the Thresh ban here.
And also, Sivir is such a short-range AD carry. This is very good for space. You're either going to have to use on the hunt defensively, or you're going to maybe just get run over by this Mundo. I also like the Leona pick. Mundo kind of weak at primary engage. That's why you have the Leona in there. Plus, you get the Corki Leona lane, which is extremely strong. And I wonder a little bit if this is there is that rivalry between MadLife and Lustboy coming into the play. We may see a pretty bloody bottom lane.
I sincerely hope so, especially with the champions locked in. He talked about how Korean is TSM feeling. They have locked in that Viktor with Sivir to round out the team comp. Crumbs, you touched on how it's a very heavy engage. There's a lot of mobility. There's a lot of options for TSM.
I think the Ezreal pick is the better pick here, just because itemizing that heavily into AP would be dangerous, and also he has that mobility to deal with any kind of ganks that hit him early, and it's one of Coco's best champions, so I'd be a bit surprised by the Xerath.
I mean, I think that the problem with the Ezreal, though, is that you find yourself in a low wave clear situation.
True.
And you know that your Mundo is already the key to winning this game. Your Mundo gets tanky enough to be able to walk by everything, get enough wave clear, survive any grouping from TSM, and just wait for Mundo to be unkillable. And then all of a sudden you find yourself, your Mundo's 1v5ing while you got your backline of the Xerath, of the Corki poking in. Anybody that gets caught out with a Leona solo flare is going to get popped instantly.
So a lot of mixed timings on the CJ Entus team composition. Leona, Corki, Xerath going to do very well in the early to mid game. Mundo, of course, going to buy you some time in the late game. Team Solomid playing slightly more TSM-esque team composition, and we'll see whether or not their grouping will be effective enough to run down CJ Entus.
Yeah, very interesting composition. I'm excited to see this game.
I just feel glad that I felt really adequate saying, okay, they're going to go with the Viktor, the Sivir, the Mundo, and it all worked out.
Yeah, we will see. We'll be on the Rift in just a couple of minutes right after this.
My name is Joe Miller. Joining me for our final 2 games of the day is, of course, Doa and Deficio. So, coming into this one, a big game, TSM versus CJ Entus. Deficio, first of all, what do you make to these comps?
I really like the Leona pick coming in here for MadLife. I think CJ were expecting the Viktor to come in, and obviously Hard CC shut him down really effectively. And also Nidalee, a champion who can't really sit there and poke if you get suddenly engaged on by Leona. So I like that pickup. However, it does mean there's not enough peel for your Corki Xerath in that backline, and Prey and Coco really got a position well. Otherwise, they're going to get overrun by TSM.
Oh yeah, so true, man. I mean, TSM has a potential to get in there and do a lot of damage, but CJ has the ability to sort of lock them down, get the damage that they can do with Coco and Space as well, and I'm just excited about this match, man. CJ Entus versus TSM. What a grudge match for Lustboy as well, to play against his former team. Very cool stuff. And of course, Loco Doko, the coach for TSM, against his former team as well. So a lot of history in this matchup that we're about to see. And the winner moves on to tomorrow.
And I really want to see the jungle matchup here, because we have seen Rek'Sai almost be the MVP of this tournament so far here. Yeah. Nearly every single Rek'Sai game has been absolutely fantastic. Even though he might not have won the game, the early game has been in favor of the Rek'Sai itself. And now if you look at the top lane matchup, not that I'm expecting too many ganks up there, Mundo will outscale the Maokai in terms of one-on-oneing him. But in terms of a team fight, well, that's what both of them are going to become, these massive tanks. One is going to shut down, obviously, some of the damage coming in, and Mundo is just going to be this frontline guy who's going to be impossible for a Sivir and a Viktor to kill. So it's going to be very exciting to see if we're going to get any ganks from Nidalee or Rek'Sai to really try to snowball one of your 2 tanks.
Well, Shai's Mundo is really something else, too. I mean, he plays a Dr.Mundo that's kind of in a league of its own. I mean, this is a guy that in Korea this season has gotten multiple triple kills early on in the game with this champion. You do not want to fight Shai's Mundo near Dragon, so I think TSM's going to need to be really, really careful once that Mundo starts to leave the top lane.
Yeah, and of course, only just going to get beefier and beefier, and more annoying to get by as things go on. First few skill shots coming out here. Coco and Bjergsen landing one apiece, just showing that they mean business in this mid lane. And there is Shai helping out Ambition with the start to the Krugs up top.
And not really a surprise with the lane swap here. Sivir has been one of the counter picks to Corki in the laning phase. Leona is great into an Annie, but she wants a few levels before she can really start all-laning onto Lustboy. So no real surprise in terms of the lane swap. And for now, the top laners are running around with their junglers. Nobody's sitting in the lane yet. CJ, they want to stop this blue buff.
Yeah, MadLife coming down. Here comes Ambition and Shai as well. Can they possibly do it? Blue getting low. MadLife getting in there with the autos, with those Sunlight procs. Blue buff does get taken by Santorin, but Dyrus on the run as well. CJ looks like they'll have to let them go. Flash is used by both top and junglers for TSM. So even though CJ didn't get the blue buff, that's definitely a win.
Yeah, 2 summoners blown here. We see why teams normally don't start the buff on the side where the enemy dual lane has been sent and where your top lane is on his own, because you know there's going to be 4 guys on that side of the map. You've obviously seen the Sivir already sitting in the bottom lane, but Team Solomid managed to get the blue buff. No flash on your Nidalee, however. kind of slows down your early game pressure.
See, Wildturtle left, though, all alone down bottom. And I say all alone. Lustboy's actually in the brush just to the top side of him there. Seeing if he can catch anyone coming down this bottom side through river. I don't think MadLife's a person that will necessarily fall for that, although I've you know, said things that have been proved totally incorrect just seconds after already today.
I think right now Team Solomid should go into the blue buff of CJ Entus here, because they saw there was no buffs on Ambition when he came down to stop the blue buff itself. And you have your bottom lane here on this side of the map, so you're going to be quickly 4 guys collapsing onto a jungler if they want to move in. It seems they are just going to play it safe, most likely because they used the flashes here early on. But a double buff Nidalee is going to stop a Rek'Sai any time of the day of getting that blue buff here, and they should deny it from Ambition now.
Yeah, well, there goes Santorin. He's coming in knowing exactly what you were talking about, and here comes Ambition to try to claim his blue buff. So will TSM be able to stop this from happening? You can see Ambition approaching that very carefully. Wildturtle gets stunned by MadLife, takes some nice hits, and Shy starting to get a little bit more CS here.
And you can see, because TSM can push up this bottom lane, Lustboy can roam up here, he can join in with Santorin, get a few wards down, and again keep denying this blue buff, setting Ambition behind. He won't be able to get any cams for himself. The Grump is there. This is a risky one. I mean, there's a ward to spot him.
Yep.
Santorin picked up that pink ward on his way back, obviously having to recall fairly early on. We see there 3 men from TSM going to start off this blue buff. What will Ambition try and do for this one? I think it's just going to be a case of having to give it up, and it will go over onto Santorin. So what's the reply? Nothing. Just a bit of poke back onto Wildturtle, and nice little pick up there from Santorin early on.
Yeah, real nice play, and he's not done yet. I mean, you're not going to get this Grump here, Ambition. You're going to keep being level 3. Santorin still staying around, double trap. And meanwhile, I mean, Dyrus has just gone to the top lane. He's one-on-oneing a Corki. There's no real XP advantage for Space just yet. Oh, sorry, there's a level 5 for him, so there's an XP advantage. But for Dyrus' case, he's going to try and pick up some farm at least here and catch up.
Yeah, he's taking a lot of damage from Space, of course, so he will be slowed down just a bit. Perhaps level-wise, perhaps gold-wise as well. But being on that Maokai too, that does give you a lot of late-game strength. So it's something where even if you're kept back a little bit early, it's not necessarily the end of the world, you know?
No, that's very true, and we have seen Maokai's in lane swap to go Catalyst and just build like Frozen Heart, Spirit Visage from there, and then maybe get a Righteous Glory for himself. So you can build these, not, you know, full tank straight away builds, but still where you don't go for like Rod of Ages, a fairly expensive first item, and get pretty tanky going into the mid game despite being denied quite some farm. But here for Dyrus, because the lane is pushing down towards him, and of course he's in a one-on-one situation, he should get most of the farm. At least we'll get all the XP.
Yep, certainly seems that way.
Yeah, his farm there's pretty much level if you look at that as well, so not certainly that bad for him. Just needs to be careful how far up that lane he actually comes, especially now that we have seen MadLife join Space on the top side of the map, and in fact Ambition is also top side as well, so needs to be just a little bit wary of that one. Got no vision because of the fact that he's been pushed back for so long. Mid lane is also fairly even at this point, 48 to 42 CS, and we see that Space is just keeping Dyrus as far away from that minion line as possible. But Ambition is coming.
Yeah, I want to see if CJ wants to dive on it. It's going to be fairly risky on a level 5 Maokai, but they have a lot of CC with the Leona pick. But by having MadLife here on the top side, it means Mundo is on his own in the bottom lane against double range, so TSM can push that lane in fairly easily and get quite some damage on the tower, and also opening up for Lustboy to roam around, get more deep wards here. So the bottom side of the map clearly belongs to Team Solomid, while CJ and have taken over the top side. Still, this bottom lane tower will take quite some damage with Shy being on his own.
Wow, Lustboy and Santorin lurking in the jungle trying to maybe catch Ambition. But he's going to see him, of course, with that Tremor Sense. Hard to hide from Rek'Sai, isn't it?
It's a bit tough, at least.
Yeah.
One of the reasons she's so good. I mean, you don't even need wards in your own jungle. But if you are getting camped here, the only way to do it if you're standing still and basically in a bush, and obviously the Rek'Sai won't be able to see you. But Ambition now.
Teemo hard counter, right?
I think CJ has realized that they couldn't really do anything in the top lane, where the Maokai is already quite tanky just from the levels itself, and have to go down here to try and defend this tower. So small advantage in this lane swap in terms of tower damage for Team Solomid, but Shy has been picking up quite a lot of farm on Mundo already.
Yeah, up to 40 to the 33 currently of Dyrus. And there is actually MadLife diving in on top of Lustboy. The question is, do they want to follow this one through? Wildturtle already doing decent amounts of damage, especially if he gets his boomerang across like that. But they're certainly holding him away from that tower fairly decently at this point.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at this 3-on-3, there's certainly a lot more damage coming out of TSM overall right now as they continue to push this lane up. MadLife, it's interesting to see him on that Leona. It's not a champion that we've seen him play a whole lot of lately, but here we go, going in again, jumping onto Santorin. The tower does go down. Santorin goes down as well. First blood going over Ambition, and they're not done yet. Shy getting low, but he's going to pop that ult. He just hit level 6, and so no danger there for CJ. And a flash for Ambition, trying to go in on the Lustboy. They will. MadLife picks up that kill. So even though TSM picked up that turret, CJ returns with 2 kills of their own. Bjergsen looking to maybe make a play on a Coco here.
I was about to say I really liked how Team Solomid were pushing the bottom lane. That basically forces MadLife on Leona to sit and try and defend under the tower, not roam around or try and make aggressive plays on his own. And then Engage comes in, 2 kills for CJ. Yes, they lost the tower, but they can be fairly happy with these 2 kills here, as long as TSM is not able to quickly rotate the Wildturtle into a different lane, where he can then push another tower, because he's sitting on a BF sword, and before Corki hits that Trinity Force, he won't really be able to stop any pushes, and that's where you could use Sivir now to really fast push another lane. Top lane could be the go-to target. Again, Mundo doesn't really bring any wave clear to the table.
Yeah, you know, I mean, we talked a little bit earlier about Dyrus's itemization too, and it looks like he did pick up that Catalyst, so playing it safe, just kind of farming up and getting ready for the late game, so wise moves there.
We see as well that duo you were just mentioning from TSM, will they change things around now that that tower's down? Actually, they won't, and Lustboy is going to face check there into space, and that is a lot of damage coming out with that Sheen already in position. MadLife going to come across, but he misses the Zenith Blade onto Wildturtle, and that should be the end of that one, at least for now. Maybe some tower damage, though, for CJ.
And this is a big thing here for CJ, and it's because Space has been getting free XP and farm in this top lane. He's level 8 at the moment, so level 6 or now 7 of Wildturtle, level 4 only for Lustboy, so he's extremely strong just from levels, and that's why he can make up for this BF sword here on Wildturtle and simply take a fantastic trade for him. Lustboy obviously face checking. This should also mean that there won't be any dragons started right away from Team Solomid, despite them getting that early tower, and instead fairly standard lanes, just 1 tower down and 2 kills for CJ. That's all we got in this lane swap here, and now a Corki, which is, well, who is very far ahead in terms of XP.
Yeah, well, we've been seeing too, independent of all this, that Bjergsen's gotten a pretty huge CS lead over Coco in the mid lane. They've been left more or less alone, and that's allowed Bjergsen to use that upgraded E, but now he's getting jumped on by MadLife and Ambition. Ult activated by Coco. Bjergsen manages to flash out, chasing CJ back now with that Chaos Storm. Oh, and the spear does a lot of damage for Santorin, but Bjergsen getting out of that 1v3. Big escape there for TSM.
Look at the setup though by CJ. They had placed the pink ward in the river after they got back to this bottom lane with the extremely strong Corki, so they knew they had a clear path from the bottom lane to the mid lane to set up this gank here, but nice reaction from Bjergsen.
True enough, Ambition
managed to stay alive. Had to blow his flash and cleanse, however.
Yeah, well, I'd say it's worth it. I mean, you want to kind of keep that ball rolling, keep the lead going in the mid lane. Picked up that Negatron cloak, so it looks like Bjergsen's going to go for that Abyssal Scepter as a first item, which is something that we've seen on Viktor a few times.
Yeah, we often see it against so much magic damage when you have a Corki Xerath, even a Mundo from CJ here. It does mean, however, he's going to delay and potentially not even get a Morel Nomicon, which is fantastic against the Mundo, and also the cooldown reduction is so important on Viktor. I want to see how he builds, because I've seen Abyssal Scepter into like Deathcap Void Staff, where you simply skip that Morel Nomicon, which you can debate, is it worth it, is it not? I mean, you're going to stay in the backline anyway, you have your cleanse against Leona here, so you should be able to dodge around the damage, and your job is now killing that Mundo with your AD carry, so that's where the Morel Nomicon will be very important later on, so let's see if Bjergsen wants to pick it up or not.
There's that pink ward spotted out and removed. Similar will happen down on the back of the Dragon Pit, and are they going to go for this one? The funny thing is, Santorin is currently recalling, so won't be anywhere close, and this is basically a free dragon for CJ.
Yeah, TSM not having any trouble, or actually CJ rather having no trouble taking that dragon. And again, you know, I feel like this is an okay one for TSM to give up too, because we've seen in the past what CJ with this Mundo has been able to do. So yeah, I'd say better to just kind of let that one go, let Bjergsen continue to sort of build up that lead in the mid lane.
Yeah, you had no summoners on your Viktor in the mid lane, so it would be fairly easy for MadLife to target him with his ulti and just straight up engage onto Bjergsen and lock him down. And really this pressure on the bottom side of the map from CJ simply comes from taking space with all that free farm and XP, take him down to the bottom lane. He got level 9, so he got the max rank on his Q, and he's just been so strong that he's been giving them that lane control. We've seen ganks in the mid lane now, we've seen Dragon being taken as well. Nice setup and nice early game by CJ after this swap back from this swap.
Yep.
From his lane swap.
Yeah. Swapping, swap.
Loads of swapping going around.
They are now finally moving Turtle to this top lane with Lustboy as well. Looks like the recall will come in from Dyrus after that little fight with Shy up top, where he did use his ultimate. Lustboy's actually stood right on top of a ward there, so it's not like they're going to be catching Shy unaware at any stage of that. I mean, it looks like CJ might try and push this bottom lane out, get rid of that turret final.
I really like this play by Wildturtle and why we highlighted it earlier that you can move this Sivir around once you get an early tower down in a lane swap. Because again, Mundo is not going to do anything to defend it. And now mid lane is going to be your next target. Xerath sadly is offering so much wave clear. You got to find a way to push him off the tower first if you want to quickly go in and push it down. But Bjergsen, I mean, he's happy farming still. And as long as he pushes the wave into the tower, he will get a little bit of damage every single time. And then it's just a quick rotation and you take it down.
Yep, he's been eventually doing it. And that's kind of what you do on this Viktor, is just use that empowered E to just push down that mid lane over and over again while you try to not die. Oh, the stun barely avoided by the end of that recall. MadLife going in onto Santorin, and the ult activated by Coco as well. Wow, easy kill there for CJ. And that's that power of the Leona coming in and just being able to make the ult so easy for Coco. Lustboy, meanwhile, going on a magical journey, even though Bard is not available in this tournament. Not exactly the same type of magical journey. He's going to go down. Ambition backing up right now, trying to get out of this Wildturtle. Bjergsen gank Coco, defending with the damage, and here comes the teleport now for Dyrus. Gets there. Can he get onto Coco? Well, they force the flash. Here comes MadLife, though.
He wants more. Flash is ready as well for him.
Wow. Yeah, onto Dyrus. Look at the damage coming back there. Wildturtle will destroy him. And that did not go to plan for CJ Entus. They saw the TP coming down and thought that they could fight it, but maybe underestimating TSM's damage there.
Now, welcome to League of Critical Hits.
Welcome to Viktor as well.
Yeah,
seriously. Insane amount of burst damage, but that whole setup was a little bit weird because Bjergsen was recalling and they saw him recall in the bush, and then Santorin and Lustboy was suddenly caught in the jungle of CJ, obviously all alone. There was some easy kills for them in the start, and a bit of a mistiming from Team Solomid. When your mid laner recalls, you do not go into the enemy jungle and play some water. It's way too risky.
Even I had to admit that was a bit too bloodthirsty. I don't do that much, but in that case,
yeah. Not much.
Yeah, when you're the support and, you know, before the, right after the tier 1 goes down, you're taking damage from the inhibitor turret. We may be a little bit too far in.
Yeah, a bit deep there from Lustboy, but I don't think he really had many options as to where he was going to run at that point. They are challenging once again on the blue buff spawn here. Well, let's see how this one goes. There is a smite available for Ambition, but it's probably not going to the mid laners, but actually will be picked up there at the end by Ambition. MadLife here is surely going to go down. He will. It's Wildturtle, I guess that one. Can't they lock any more up? Lustboy actually did throw out Tibbers there, but not sure if he wasn't charged up there. His stun, I believe he wasn't, because he dropped it right on top of him.
Well, I mean, MadLife tried to come in for a flank, tried to make something happen, but CJ was just a little bit too separated for him to capitalize on that.
And again, as soon as he engages, you see how Team Solomid, they back away slightly here, they single him out first, and then simply say to CJ, if you want more damage here, your Corki, your Xerath, they gotta move a bit closer in here, and then potentially we can turn around on you. So MadLife twice now, being the guy to engage, and he's gone down. Nice little flash Q from Lustboy to get the last amount of damage. Perfect timing for him.
This game so far, close to say the least. TSM with a 700 gold lead, mainly due to the amount of farm that they've got in that mid lane. Of course, they did lose the first dragon there to CJ, so we'll see if they decide to fight when the next one comes up here in 1 minute and 20 seconds. And they may well do now that a couple of items are coming down. If I quickly look at gold, there's 2,300 gold for Wildturtle to spend, so that'll probably be a decent time for him to go home, although Space also had just finished off that Trinity Force.
Yeah, but should be Infinity Edge for Wildturtle, potentially the average blade as well if he's going for Static Shift second. He did go Phantom Dancer earlier. I've seen that quite a few times from him. It often depends on just how much gold you have on your first pack. If you can get your seal, you go for that one, and then you open up for Phantom Dancer. We can see here, it's picked up by him. I mean, next time he backs, if he has enough for it, he will get the Phantom. Otherwise, you just go static shift. And honestly, it's all about getting that instant power on these AD carries here. You want to get your second item to boost up your Infinity.
Right, there we go. CJ finally taking that bottom turret. That's their first of the game. So striking back with an objective of their own right before Dragon comes up. About 30 seconds remaining for that. And by putting this pressure on the bot lane, they should be able to maybe get in there, get a little bit of vision around Dragon and try to get their second one. Because with the pressure that TSM has put on early, being able to counter by getting those Dragons is really nice for CJ.
Yeah, because we see two teams running so much hard engage in terms of their supports and big frontline tanks as well, it's very important you pre-plan your objectives and you move into a Dragon before it spawns, and then you set up your wards, have 1 or 2 ping wards put up first, because if you don't have any vision control around the Dragon itself, you cannot face check against Annie or Leona. Both will be able to single you out, get a perfect engage for whatever team has set up the control, and therefore you have to forfeit that objective. For now, Team Solomid is moved in here because Shy was still pushing that top lane. Dyrus is down here trying to fight for vision, and honestly, CJ, seems like they're happy just trading a top tower for Dragon.
Yeah, leaves them at 1 apiece on the Dragons. And of course, 2 for 2 in turrets as well. And with that, CJ now regaining that gold lead. And it looks like they may try and put some damage onto this mid turret. Shy seemingly will come across again. And Corki, to be honest, ripping through this turret there with that Trinity Force in. Ambition did just come around to join them as well. But it looks like they will be forced away, at least for now.
And this really is just this Corki power we talk about so often, how good these Korean teams are using the power spikes. From getting a over-farmed or over-leveled Corki, that was the first step of getting a lot of pressure on one side of the map for CJ. They used it to gank the mid lane, used it to get at least some farm and some damage on the bot lane tower. And then the next one is, of course, when you get your Trinity Force, that's the next step. That's where you're looking to keep pushing in and get the global gold. They've been using it, 2 towers now for them. Shy obviously picked up the last one. And still, will be stronger. MadLife.
Wow, and there's a Chaos Storm.
3 times now.
Yep, MadLife not having the best game here, trying to make engages that don't work, just getting caught out multiple times. And, you know, MadLife he's been better lately, but overall in Season 5, he's been very hit and miss, and they may lose a mid-turret for this.
Yeah, it was in actually a really tricky position there because he was like, do I wait for the gravity field or do I try and go through it? I think he actually thought he timed it right and went in just as he got stunned, so a little bit unlucky there as well, but nice bit of punishment, to be fair, from TSM. And there is Space just finding
a little bit
one
far
man,
up.
but he's got Dyrus chasing him in as well. Will Valkyrie, but there are 3 men chasing him down, and I don't see Space escaping that one. It is Wildturtle that picks him up. He has got all 4 kills on TSM side of things. Question is that a problem for them? Can Wildturtle carry them through this?
I mean, it's tough to say. We've seen Wildturtle in the past have some great games, but we've also seen him basically being caught out in the start of team fights and simply just blown up, and then suddenly the 4 kills would do nothing for Team Solomid. So I think it's tough. Last game, Dora, you praised him a little bit, said his position was better compared to what we've seen before. If he can pull that off again, if he can dodge around the Xerath stun, the engage from MadLife, then yes, it can be fantastic for Team Solomid, because it's going to be all about killing the 2 frontline tanks here. Mundo for CJ, obviously the Maokai for Team Solomid. So if you have a fed AD carry early on, that makes you that much stronger for the first few fights.
Well, I think, you know, Corki is a lot easier to do that with than Sivir as well, too. So this is kind of the real test. And so far, you know, 4 kills, 0 deaths, not looking too bad. TSM able to get that lead in turrets as well. A very close game so far between these 2 teams.
Yeah, interesting there that TSM once again were on time for that blue buff and once again actually stole it away there from CJ. So we'll see how that really affects Coco mainly. We'll see what he can come up with despite not having that blue buff available to him. That middle turret, let's not forget, is decently low on TSM's side of the map, but for now it doesn't look like there's too much pressure to get it down.
Just to go back to your blue buff point here, I think it's super smart what Team Solomid is doing, because you know Xerath Corki has a fantastic mid-game group where you have so much poke damage and siege potential, and by denying that blue buff, you basically make it hard for Coco to stay and keep landing damage in these sieges here, and therefore CJ are gonna split up instead and go back to just basically trying to apply pressure in every single lane. We just saw before here, after MadLife died, Space, he stayed in the bottom lane and pushed, and that's why Team Solomid could just walk down from the mid lane and kill him. So both teams here have had times where one guy's recalling or dying, and the other ones don't really respect how many guys you can send down and kill them and punish them and just stay pushing. But We got this mid-game siege here. This tower is very, very low.
It is indeed. Dyrus trying to defend with the ult, and they managed to clear the wave. Coco needing to be very careful there. They can jump on him so easily.
Yeah, and he's got no real mana to work with in this scenario, which is very going back onto that blue buff point, which Bjergsen, of course, will be happy to have, and he just couldn't quite get close enough to that. And without Coco doing a bit of spamming onto the backside to clear them out, it might be dangerous. Dyrus is going to come behind him, still not finished off the tower. There is Dyrus moving in, and Tibbers goes down.
Yeah, Solar Flare used by MadLife, but didn't accomplish a whole lot. MadLife trying to get in for a stun, but again, he's on his own. Ambition already on the run, Shy as well. Coco just trying to flee for his life. Dyrus flashes ahead to get that twisted advance. Another kill onto MadLife. And look at this, Coco flashing out of the Baron pit. Baron is activated. Is TSM actually just going to go for this? Coco with not a lot of mana to poke, and yeah, I think TSM better to pull away from that one and stay safe. I mean, yeah, with Space and MadLife out of the way, the temptation is there, but better safe than sorry, especially with Dragon up in a minute.
Yeah, really love the setup here, though, by Team Solomid. We had the push, the mid-game siege from CJ, teleport behind from Dyrus. We keep talking about Xerath, how he's out of mana, he's barely going to offer anything. And also Space, he got caught out here, stuns onto him, nice CC and nice target selection from Team Solomid, giving him a very nice goal lead of 1,000.
Well, you were trying to work that out there.
I was trying to look and say, okay, 1,000 here, and then we got the comms and how's it looking. Well,
Math is difficult, man.
When you're against a Corki, if you're ahead in the mid-game, you're doing pretty good.
Yeah, very true. I mean, we saw Space kind of hit that power spike, and they were able to get some turrets, but not a ton. And TSM just, it's really impressive how they're kind of being able to answer back everything. But to me, you know, one of the big stories this game so far is that MadLife just seems to be really, really off his game here on this Leona. We've said it before, it's a bit of a different pick than we've seen him on in recent history, and it's not working out very well. Ambition, a little bit bogged down by TSM here in the river, manages to tunnel his way out. There's a teleport coming in for Shy. They really don't want TSM to get this dragon.
Very defensive teleport though behind from him just to join the fight.
Yeah.
Nobody really going too out on the dragon yet. Nobody started and they're both kind of standing. I mean, Team Solomid have the mid lane now. They can push up the wave. You see Bjergsen do it already. Try and force CJ to move away from this dragon back up to defend. And we see they're just going to take the trade. You get the dragon, we take that mid tower instead.
Yep.
Well, Dyrus is still hanging around. There's a sapling jumping in, but it's going to be a little bit too slow for them. There's the inner turret going down. What will TSM do? They've got a beastie Mundo coming around the side, but Shy is pretty much the rest of his team on the other side of it. Now they are going to go for Shy. Can they finish him off here and get through the rest of the team? MadLife also going to be caught up. He will surely fall as Santorin jumps in. Ambition, the next target, he goes down as well. Surely, there we go. Finished off by Wildturtle. Space will manage to escape off the side, but in the end it's a 3-for-1. TSM losing the support, taking that inner turret in trade for the dragon.
Yeah, again, it's just a great setup here. They're making all the right decisions. You see how they say, okay, we don't want to fight here around this dragon where you can sit and poke us with the Corki, with the Xerath. No, we just pushed the mid lane. We had the advantage, we were staying near it. And then suddenly you just engaged when Coco wasn't near. Yep. And at the same time, no poke has been landed from CJ with their comp before the fight starts. And of course, TSM can then just jump onto them. Nice setup again. And Baron?
Very good decisive fight. It does lead into this Baron. Coco can poke a little bit, but again, low on mana. Yet again, Baron getting low, and they do get it fairly easily. So TSM with the turret, with the team fight, with the Baron, suddenly jumping out to a 4,000 gold lead and really kind of taking a big edge now in this game.
Just a great strategy, great shot calling. Yeah. Every time. Let's see it again. So again, no poke has been landed by CJ here. You see Coco, he's just here with his ulti. That's it. The rest is just a 5 versus 4. Team Solomid chasing up, get 1 kill, get 2 kills. And again, you're healthy enough. You got the ulti from Bjergsen down. Such a good setup of saying we're not going to allow you to poke us and we're not going to sit around an objective where we know, okay, who's going to start it? Okay, you got now 5-10 seconds to land, let's say, the rockets and the Q from Xerath. No, it's not going to happen. We just take a mid tower and we hard engage on you.
Yeah, it was a really good Tibbers by Lustboy in that fight as well. And again, you know, we saw MadLife Solar Flare. Oops. Oh, Bjergsen. Oh, Bjergsen. But we also saw MadLife Solar Flare just being a little bit off.
Yeah, I mean, he locked the 3 up at the back there, but obviously they were doing damage on the front side anyway. Couldn't save Shy, couldn't save the rest of them. One thing to note, Coco did finally get a blue buff here in this game, so that should be helping them with the TSM pushes and clearing out those waves a little bit quicker. But let's not forget, inner turret on the top lane, inner turret in the bottom lane is all that remains outside of that CJ Entus base, and it looks like the bottom lane might be the target for TSM.
Very key items just been completed for them. We have, of course, the Void Staff for Bjergsen. Almost a Last Whisper completed for Wildturtle as well. And suddenly, I mean, this Corki is not looking that scary. You have gotten past the point of the mid-game spike and now to Shy again.
Yeah, Dyrus goes in after Shy gets very, very low. They get the turret, they get the kill on Maokai as well. And TSM not quite done yet, it looks like, or gets the kill onto Mundo, rather. And now with that Baron buff, this inhibitor turret's in a little bit of trouble. A lot of damage put onto that.
And they're surely just going to keep pushing on this one. I mean, they'll wait for that next wave maybe, but with another 20 seconds on Shy, they've got time to finish off at least the inhibitor turret, maybe the inhibitor themselves. Xerath, of course, will play a role in trying to keep them away from it, but it's not going to be enough. And there it is, going down, and they're going to go for the fight. Space will be caught completely out of position. Ambition will get stunned up as well. That's 2 kills for TSM, and if they play this right, maybe they can finish.
I think they might be able to.
They got the tip as well, just died there. This tower's gonna go down.
Look at that, first Nexus turret out of the way. Shy down, only Coco up. Space still 20 seconds away. MadLife goes in deep, gets blown up immediately. Wildturtle tanking that Nexus turret. They're gonna take out Coco as well. And guys, at 29 minutes, can you believe it? Team Solomid takes down CJ Entus. They're moving on. GG. Wow.
Absolutely fantastic stuff here. A lot of people were, of course, tipping for those semi-final matchups to be Korea versus second place on both sides of the bracket. That's not going to happen here.
Guess not, yeah. I mean, you saw Lustboy hugging Bjergsen after. That's got to feel good to beat that former team. And man, you just can't say enough good things about that game for TSM. I mean, yeah, MadLife had a rough game or whatever too, but TSM just played every part of that so well.
I agree 100%. I love the strategy. Deny the blue buff from Xerath in the mid-game so you don't get that siege with the Corki Xerath from CJ. And then, of course, because Wildturtle got so many early kills, he got straight to Infinity Edge Phantom Dancer, and then you can really start taking the fights from the side of Team Solomid. And just great engages, great shot calling, decision making. Everything was just working for them in this game, and that's why they win.
Well, first place out of the group for TSM, taking down CJ Entus, who of course still have a chance tomorrow where they'll face the winner of World Elite and Gambit. That game will be coming up next, but for now we're going to move over to the analyst desk to break down that TSM victory.